Hello everyone and welcome back to assetocorsacompetizione. I've been gone for a while, so I decided just to bring up a quick race for everyone to watch. And today we are here at Paul Ricciardo, and I believe this is the McLaren. And I just decided to do a quick 10-minute race. I haven't really raced here before. I've done a few practice laps here and there to get used to the cars and stuff here. And going into turn one, we did get a few nice overtakes as the Porsche in front of us does lose it on the curb. But from what I learned about this track, corner exits do matter a lot, and how you enter the corners also matters a lot. Now the reason I chose the McLaren is because it has very good downforce in the corners, as you can see here. I can sit right behind the Porsche even in dirty air going this slow, and not really have too many problems with it. And another reason is just that this car is very low to the ground, and that does help a lot when trying to get into slipstream and just avoid crashes or other cars in general. Now as we come on to the long straight that Paul Ricciardo is a little bit known for here, we do get a nice clean overtake using the slipstream of the Lamborghini to overtake both the Porsche and the Lambo, and then see if we can just squeeze in front of the Lamborghini right before the next turn, which is very hard to do on controller, just to get it right and maximize the amount of speed you can get, as we're going to send one up the inside of the Audi right next to us. Now we do get a little bit loose, and unfortunately the Audi does have the grip to go around, but we're still on the inside, chuck it down to second gear just to get the better corner exit, and it ended up working very well. But the Audi still has our inside, so we're just going to have to settle down behind it, as we do unfortunately slip up a little bit on the corner exit, and you can just see how much the Audi has managed to pull away just from that small slip up from us. And we're going to have to try to do our best to make it up in this little sector here, well, the first part of the track before the long straight, because you do not want to go down that straight with no slipstream, no basically buddy with you to help you just keep up the speed. And sitting in slipstream really will help near just going into the next sector of the track. Now for corner one, we're going to shift it down to second gear to get the car turned in. You can upshift early to third gear like I did there, or risk it going back down to second. And it's just to get the car fully rotated around the track, as we're getting attacked from the Lamborghini behind. But fortunately he does back out of it as we hit the apex perfectly. We do carry a little bit too much speed coming into this turn. We're going to have to lightly tap the brakes and just try to get the car rotated best we can. Unfortunately, we did not get to the back of the Audi, and it seems that the Lamborghini behind us has closed the gap a lot and will be in our slipstream for this long stretch to the back. So I guess our goal here is just to keep our position. We are in the top 10, so theoretically if this was a league race or something, we would be in the point. And if we were in the F1 game, we would have gone through that little section off to the track that you saw on both the left and right hand side. But fortunately for us, we don't, as we have managed, I think, to gain a little bit of time to the Audi in front just by letting them go into the braking zone first. And we seem to have gained a lot of time through this high speed section of constant braking and then trying to keep your car rotated. Now you can, through this corner, keep it in third gear, but I find second gear gives you a better exit. And here you can also go down to first gear. I do this a few times just to help the car get rotated. You can keep it in second gear if you have a lot of downforce to take it like that. But unfortunately from behind, it seems that the Lamborghini has caught up to us and is trying to make a move up the inside. We outpace him, and now that we realize he is going to be on our tail for the rest of this race, we're going to really have to make the most of every turn we go into. And it seems the Lamborghini is preparing to make a move into turn one. We'll see how well that can go for us both. Hopefully we don't make contact, but going into the braking zone, you could shift up to 6, but I decided not to. Just use second for traction. And we're off the track. I know that wasn't the most legal move, but it's very hard to keep cars on track when you only have a pad and not a full wheel. And it seems the Lamborghini does not care about our mistakes, as he just wants to get the move done as fast as he can anywhere on the track. And that is a little bit alarming. we hopefully don't want to make contact. He is an AI, so who knows how aggressive he'll be when he feels like there is a move that needs to be done. And we do get a pretty decent exit out of that last corner onto the stretch. And I know this is pretty boring to watch this long stretch and nothing happening, so I'm just going to fast forward through that for you. And if the cars were closer together, maybe I would show it, but not much happens here in general. Now going into this braking zone, you want to brake down until you hit 5th gear, then just keep the car turning as much as you can. A lot more than I did, but of course there's only so much I can do on a pad. Now we're going to keep the car close to the inside line. You can go a little bit wider and maybe carry a bit more speed through there, but it's up to the car you have and your setup. Now I decided to take a little bit of a wider entry into this corner, and we leave it in 2nd gear just for traction's sake, and it seems to have worked out as we've created a little bit of gap to the Lamborghini behind us, and I think we have lost a lot of time to the cars in front. Hopefully we can get back to that group, as they're only about half a second in front of us, a second at most, and we could possibly get into their slipstream going onto the backstretch again. But if we look at the little mini-map off to our side here, we see that the cars in front aren't exactly all in one group, so we could also use that to our advantage to somehow catch up to them. As we take corner 1 perfectly, upshifting to 3rd gear early just to keep the traction there. And as I said before, you can keep it in 2nd, but it's completely up to you and how well you can control the car. But just to be safe, I upshift and downshift sometimes to keep the car stable. And we take this little section here pretty much perfect. Now unfortunately we did run a little bit wide, but I think we were just barely on the track limits, never mind as we get a warning. But coming up to the long rear stretch, I decided to fast forward again, as not much really happens here. We do take the exit of onto the back straight perfectly, or at least as well as we can. And while going down this back stretch, it seems that we have been able to keep the gap to the Lamborghini behind us at a very good rate. Now, of course, we don't enter the best out of the straight. We could have used a lot more of the track to the left and to the right. So we're just going to have to try to monopolize on the McLaren's front downforce, as it is very good through this section when you shift down to 2nd gear and get back on the power as early as possible. And it was around this point of the race I decided to give up on the 2 cars or 3 cars in front of us, and let's try to just play defensive to the car behind, as every time we get close to the cars in front, the Lamborghini usually does make a move or so. So it would be better just to defend our position, and maybe if the cars in front make a mistake, we can then monopolize on that too. As we come down to about 1 lap left to go after we pass the line here, and we've managed to keep a half-decent chunk of time between us and the car behind. We're going to really have to push in sector 1 to make sure they can't get into our slipstream again. Now going down to 2nd gear as usual, decided to upshift to 3rd just a little bit later to squeeze out as much power as possible from the car. And it ends up helping us just a little bit of keeping the gap and giving us a little bit of room for mistakes, as we do run a little bit wide onto the 2nd corner here. And it seems that we did slightly close the gap to the cars in front by taking that sector as best as we could, but unfortunately the Lamborghini did get back up to us, but we seem to have got on the power earlier and created just a bit of a gap here, enough so the Lamborghini doesn't get that much slipstream. Now we're not going to fast forward through this time, just in case something happens. You know, cars could crash here. I've seen it happen a lot of times coming into this hard braking zone from this very long straight. Cars have been into the wall a lot of times. But as we come into the next section of the track, it seems we are going to have to settle down and be okay with P8 and hopefully defend it as best as we can here, as it seems it's very hard to play this game with a controller. You can't exactly fight force feedback like you could if you were on a wheel, but we're going to make the most of it, trying to maybe even close up the gap to the cars in front if they do make a mistake, as I said before, and utilizing the power of each individual car to its best. For example, McLaren's first gear is pretty amazing and it feels awesome. But as we come up to the final corner here, It seems that there's not going to be much competition from the Lamborghini more, but we do run a little bit wide, and the Lamborghini does come up to our rear side, but it seems he did not put the power down fast enough to take us on. And that is P8 for us. If you guys like the video, feel free to subscribe or check out some of the older Assetto Corsa videos, and goodbye.